Having exhibited across the globe, Sundiata has seen how different eyes see the same piece. Here he reflects on creating for a global audience, shares an artistic belief that may surprise you, and reveals the subtle stories he spots when people think no one is watching. So you've exhibited internationally, as well as locally, I imagine.
Yeah. I exhibited in Grenada, Carriacou, Anguilla. What trying to say?
That counts as international.
Right. Now I've exhibited a lot of places, which is good. I've exhibited in the Caribbean, and my best fun parts is taking a little ferry to Anguilla to show a little rock, and then realizing, the people are really looking forward to me. It's a good thing I catch a boat. In the region, I've exhibited in, a lot of the countries, but internationally, I've exhibited in like some strange places, in Denmark, as far as Japan, but most of my work would have been in I've probably shown in Italy too, but mainly England and France and,
So let me ask, with that broad exposure, I mean, how does the reaction of the international or regional viewer compare with that of the local
But the
viewer?
thing is this, right, that if ever I show, I do not see myself as an artist who is creating things for people to like, right? I paint what I feel, what I want to paint, and what drives me to paint. I am not going to paint something that somebody set out to paint something that somebody wants or like. I'm not doing that, right? I'm bold enough. I'm doing my art based on what happened with me in life. The first time I put out a drawing out there, which I drew for myself, I remember somebody saw it, wanted it, and took it. That happened a lot in my life, right? I don't do commissions. If you say, Sundiata, I want you to do a portrait of me, I send in a picture, I say, no, don't send no picture. If I'm going to do you, I'm going to do you live, right? And I'm going to do you with what I see. So don't come and tell me, take out a mole or something. You know what I mean? So you see, the thing is this, when I have shown out there, I prefer to be in shows where the visitors to those shows will be really looking at what I do. So I prefer to be in shows where there will be, like I've done a lot of shows in the past, what I call jury shows. You send work in, you send your images in, and a body would look at the work and decide if this is interesting enough to show. I prefer that way. I prefer rather than to be invited to, here's our exotic artist from the Caribbean showing this door. I ain't interested in that bullshit at all.
Right.
So, for the shows I've been in, what I like to be in the shows where the critics and visitors would recognize your skill or approach or your in the language and the process. So that's the kind of shows I like to be in. That is why when I was younger, I tend to go into shows that were very competitive. Or any kind of appreciation I get, I want to be real and genuine and enough.
Right, and push yourself a little bit.
Yeah. And so I'll be careful not to go into shows like Miami Art Fair and this art fair. All them is bullshit thing. Them is just commercial shit. And I'm straight, this is our new 15 minutes of fame person. I stay far away from that rap.
Not you.
Right. So, and I've found out that I've had some what I call necessary response, where I could use the criticism and move forward. Yep.
What is something you believe about art that others might disagree with?
Well, I believe about art that there are only specific people that should be determined to be artists. Sorry to say, but a lot of people playing around the whole what we call the arts. And I think that it is unnecessary and cluttered, and they can't really learn that, you know. And when I hear the loose statements and trends, oh, Trinidad is all full of creative people. Yeah, I think, you know, that's well, I won't say my pet peeve, but that one brings annoyances is that you see a lot of I saw neophytes coming in with this big set of conceptual and thing about the arts, and you realize that, I mean, like, so much of this thing is intuitive and quiet and is manifested in action that that's the biggest problem I have. Basically, that when other so-called artists just, Sundiata, the arts be this, be arts, the arts be this, be. I say, but basically, you know, like, were you telling me and were you showing me and were you sitting down there and ready, you know, go and do something else, you know, and leave it to the people who have to deal with it. I really think that if you genuine people who destined this area is this, you know, and I think we have a lot of people jumping in on the art scene, you know, and seeking recognition for nothing, doing nothing, you know. And that does not go to painting and sculpture alone. That goes to the other areas, the performing arts, theater, all these things. I think people have to understand there's a big difference between arts and entertainment. You know?
Very good point, yeah.
There's a very big difference. People have to understand that. Big difference between art and decoration, art and tradition and culture. You know, so I'm just having a little problem with people classify and lump things. Yeah. You know, so you see, like, sometimes it's hard. Like, sometimes somebody will come to Sundiata, like, so want to come by you, and you know, when we say, but the studio is so dirty, I say, what do you expect? You know, this thing is not Hollywood, you know. So that's just basically it, you know. I don't know if I come around as being too narrow when I say that, but that's the way I feel and that's the way I know it. And I'm so frank that when people like that are wrong, I won't encourage them. You know, I prefer to leave that for people who definitely on the way and should be there. That's where all my generosities would go.
I hear you.
I don't want to waste no time supporting you to get popular. You know, I want to support you to find your way in what you're doing. You know.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Nice. When you watch people in a market or in a line, you know, what patterns do you see that maybe others miss?
Well, many artists understand that humanity, geography, ritual, culture, that is around you. Ain't talking nostalgia here. Life. In those collective situations, you actually start seeing, which is very important. You've seen the physical operating with the social and something a little more mysterious. The reasons for that kind of collective human interaction and dynamics. Why is call it the dance? It's a dance really. I like those things, experiencing those things. That's like, just leave the house and say I'll walk through Charlotte Street and see that whole kind of moment when the physical, the colorful, the experience, the economics come together. And what is interesting is there's a collective, but at the same time, the participants, they are still individual. So this whole matrix and nexus of, humanity in action, and then there's the whole invisible thing that have it happening. And it's just like you're going face to Panyard and you're seeing they start preparing to run the tune. But prior to that, everybody getting in place. Jumbo, when he was alive, will come out there and say some shit. Jack might come through there waving a flag. Guru might do a spastic dance that'll relate to the rhythm. And then you start seeing people come in there playing the identifying with the culture, but to say there was the whole set of shit. But at the same time, physically, you as an artist who just deal with the human figure, starting to see how the body moves, and then you deal with color and mood, and that is why it's important that when I do that, I actually go and sketch in the whole matrix of things, rather than take a nice picture and go home, blow it up on canvas and put in the colors. So I think it's kind of respect to playing, paying, and participating in the living art form. And I know that a lot of my interpretation in art is with the human figure persona, and also with the trying to get the expressions of it. That's where the color come in and things.
Right.
That's the best way I could explain, because I cannot explain it logically. I'm not something in a cultural studies from university explaining thing.
Well, a lot of art is more emotion and feel rather than logic, eh?
It's not more, it's all.
Yeah.
It's all. Logic have no place in art, none whatsoever.
Right.
None.